Hello and welcome to episode number 75 of the Knitting Teaspoon podcast. I'm Liesbeth, your host, and this is a podcast which is all about knitting, sewing, spinning, crochet, basically all of the fiber crafts that I feel like, and I've been up to a few in the past 2 months. Oh my god, it's been 2 months since the last podcast episode. I'm sorry for that, and also I'm kind of not sorry because, life is just incredibly busy since I have young baby to take care of, and everything is also kind of getting back to normal in terms of having to study and such, and it's really picking up the pace, and finding time to craft is hard enough, and then also finding a significant amount of time to try and do a podcast, that's even harder. So the husband is now on a walk with our lovely son, and he told me that he would be gone for about 1.5 hours walking, and I've already spent like 3/4 of an hour trying to get everything together that I wanted, and to set up the lights and everything for this podcast. So time flies by so quickly. Making a podcast takes more time than I think always. Anyway, and let's get right into what I've been up to. First, let me quick start by mentioning what I'm wearing. I'm wearing an Agnes top, which is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, and I've made this, I think, about 2 years ago. When I started sewing. I think that was in the beginning part of this podcast. Maybe slightly before, maybe slightly after I started this podcast. I'm not 100% sure anymore, but I've had this shirt for a while and I still love it. So I'm wearing it, and pregnancy weight is almost gone, so I can wear my usual clothes again, so that's very nice. So let's get into what I've been doing, and let me start with the knitting project that I have finished since last episode. So there's 2 projects that I finished since last episode, and the first that I wanted to share is this romper that I have knit for my son, and he definitely fits it now, and it was supposed to fit him a while ago already, but I knit this out of a cotton and silk blend, from a brand that I can't pronounce because it's Chinese. I can't even read what it's supposed to kind of sound like, so but I got this from a Chinese colleague of mine, this yarn. So I decided to knit the Hygge Romper, which is a pattern by Benja Kirk, and I believe she's knits to Noord on Instagram. She has some amazing, stunning pictures on there. So if you're into knitting things for baby, then she really does have some pretty pictures and some pretty patterns out there. The one thing I would say is, like, I get a bit of a girly vibe with most of her patterns, but maybe that's also because I did not particularly choose the most masculine pattern, and baby patterns aren't typically very masculine. Not that I care too much, but I have a son, and I would, kind of like if people can recognize him as a boy by his clothes instead of as a girl. I'm not necessarily making the best choices when it comes to clothing him. I mean, sometimes I dress him up a bit confusingly, I guess. Anyway, so I finished this romper shortly after last episode because I really loved knitting this. It just brought the right amount of intrigue to keep me fascinated with the lace, and it was also very quick because most of it is just stockinette in the round, so you're basically just zooming through this, and it was a very fast knit. One thing I do not like that much about this pattern is the fact that it comes with 5 buttons here to close it. If I were to knit this pattern again, I would probably modify the placement of the buttons here to make it like 3 or maybe 4 buttons, but when you're changing your baby, having to deal with 5 buttons before you're at this diaper, that's It's just a little bit annoying. So but that's really a tiny thing, and I think I would also make the straps here a little bit shorter, but that's probably just the nature of the fiber that I chose, because I'm using a cotton silk blend, and I think that's just a little bit more drapey than what the pattern is written for. I think the pattern mentions that you can also knit it out of cotton, but I think most of the things that she has actually knit as samples are knit out of wool, so I think the wool might not stretch as much in these straps, whereas cotton, well, is known to have to grow a bit after you've knitted. So so sometimes these armholes are very low on our little boy. But otherwise it's very nice, and we still use it as a romper, so I guess it works. So let's put that aside. Then I have been working on another project that probably doesn't look as exciting, but I'm really thrilled that it's finished now, because these are the socks that I have knit for my husband, and these are actually the first pair of adult socks that I've finished since giving birth. I started these when I was still in the hospital, I think just after labor, like when my son was a day old, so that must be a birthday cast on actually for me, because my son was born a day before my own birthday. So anyway, I finished these in just under half a year, and they're plain black vanilla socks, nothing too exciting. The yarn is very nice to work with, though. I think I must have the label somewhere here. I have found the label on a bit of leftover yarn, and this is Lana Grossa Maidenweit Cashmere. So this is a yarn that is 70% wool, 25% polyamide or nylon, and 5% cashmere. So the cashmere content definitely makes this a dream to work with when knitting. And the color is number 8, which is plain black. And I made these socks because my husband, he usually, when the world is spinning as it used to until like March this year, when he plays in concert, he has to wear black socks with his outfit. And he forgot that one time, and he was wearing socks that I knit for him, and they were very bright and colorful and stripy. So he got some comments on it, because he's also sitting in the front row, so it really caught the eye of some people. So he got some comments about that, and after the show he mentioned this, that he does have some black socks, store-bought ones, but he didn't have any hand-knit ones, and he likes wearing hand-knit socks over store-bought socks because they're warmer, and my husband tends to get cold quickly. So I promised him to knit a pair of plain black socks, and they are finally finished now, and he hasn't had a chance to wear them yet, because I kept them because I needed to take a proper picture, and I haven't gotten around to taking a proper picture of the socks yet. But hey, at least they're on the podcast now, and I will probably take some pictures of this after recording this, because then I will probably also update my Ravelry, because making a podcast episode is also a nice moment to update my Ravelry, to make sure that if anyone clicks through from the description box to all the things that I link there, I usually link my product pages for the projects that I talk about, and I like it to be easily recognizable that they have pictures in there. So if you want to, you can find some details about my projects there, or maybe ask specific questions about the projects there. That might be a nice way to find information. Then there has been another knitting project, or actually 2 projects, but I can't find the first of them, and I will explain in a bit why. But it looked very similar to this one, which is another diaper cover. Yes, I am still knitting diaper covers for my son. He has grown a bit out of the first two that we really liked in the beginning, and we decided that the ones without buttons were possibly even a little bit easier to use than ones with buttons. So I decided to make another pattern. So this is a pattern that I've designed myself, and I've also written down instructions for myself. I am probably going to publish this as a design as well, but you know, time and time is a precious thing. So yeah, I made another version of this, which turned out to be slightly too small, especially in the leg opening. So I made that a little bit bigger on this version, which is actually the second version. And the first version we also kind of liked, but it was a bit tight around the legs. And then after one time wearing the diaper cover, he had it on going to daycare, and we got the laundry bag with the cloth diapers. We are using cloth diapers, so we wash our diapers to get them clean again. And I wasn't paying attention, and I just emptied the entire bag into the laundry machine, not noticing that there was a wool non-superwash diaper cover in there. And you know, washing it at the hot program with regular laundry detergent on a non-superwash wool. Well, yes, might not be the smartest idea. However, I did really like how felted it became, and I think in fact for a diaper cover that's a good thing. The only thing is that it also shrinks when it's felting, so it definitely is too small now. And I think because of that I have misplaced it somewhere. I was going to take the measurements because some of the measurements are quite similar to this originally, and I wanted to know what percentages it shrunk by putting it in the laundry machine. And maybe make a pattern that is slightly bigger so that I can intentionally throw it in the washer next time, and have it shrink to the size that I actually want to have it, which is about this size. And this is so far the diaper cover that we really like the best. Using it, it's high enough, it closes tightly enough around the legs that it covers the diaper and can you know, kind of make sure that nothing leaks out. And it's also wide enough around the legs that it doesn't like tighten off his legs. So it's kind of a perfect fit. The colors, this yarn that I'm using is a yarn by Schaap en Draak, which is an indie dyer from the Netherlands. And it means sheep and dragon, and she has some lovely yarns. I believe this is the warm schaap version. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's just leftovers from diaper covers that I've knit in the past, but really I like this one, so I'm going to knit more of these. I did mess up a little bit with getting the pieces together on the front side, so I probably will make another version and then take pictures of that and then publish it as a pattern. But it just fits our son great, so it's very usable. And that mattress seaming didn't quite work out in the garter stitch panel here. It doesn't really bother me, because for me a diaper cover in the first place is like a functional thing. So the way we use diapers is we use a cotton diaper, and then which is supposed to absorb all the moist, and then we use a wool diaper cover on top of it, which we use lanolin on, so that it's a bit fatty, so it becomes very water repellent. So it's not waterproof, but it makes it so that the moist stays in the cotton bit, which is directly to our baby skin, and doesn't seep out to the outer layers of clothing that he wears on top of this. So it is very usable as this way. So we are really happy with that. Then there is another knitting project that it's kind of finished. It's also kind of not finished, and you will understand in a second what I mean by that. And our son was born half a year ago, and now we know it's a boy, so he is also going to have a Marius sweater. I'm not sure if you have watched this podcast for a bit longer, but you may know that we all have Marius sweaters in this household. I knit my husband a Marius sweater several years ago, I think 2 years ago, and then knit myself a Marius sweater half a year later. And then last year I used a tiny baby Marius sweater as a pregnancy announcement, and also just it was the sweater that we used for our newborn shoot with our baby. And of course he needs the family sweater in a size bigger now, because in the coming winter he's not going to fit in the red one. Also, the red one was kind of like, I know that this isn't any strict rule. You can wear whatever colors you like, of course, but traditionally the dark colors with a light background is for men, and the light background color with the darker accent colors is for the women. And this sweater is typically knit in a marine blue and some white contrast and red accent colors here. And so everything that is blue on my son's sweater is white on mine. And well, basically the blue and the white are just swapped. So I'm not sure to what extent you can see that this blue. I mean, I can't really see the lighting situation on the screen yet. But yeah, this is the body that is finished, and I have also finished the sleeves. But you don't need a very trained eye to see that this is not a sweater yet. So I still need to sew this together. There are still a few loose ends hanging off the sweater, mostly from the body piece, and that's because I'm going to steek this sweater, and there's really no point in weaving in ends if you're going to cut the ends off anyway. So it's probably prettier if you haven't put an extra piece of yarn through the bits close there. So so I need to put this under my sewing machine, pin this in place, and then figure out how deep I need to steek to make the steeks for the armholes, and I will just cut it open. I am going to use a sewing machine for this. I have steeked in the past without using a sewing machine. On the other baby sweater I've also used the sewing machine, and that's because this is a superwash yarn. It's Lamana Como, and I believe that's just a merino yarn. Yeah, it's 100% merino yarn. Here's the label, Lamana Como. It's very nice to work with. I'm just not 100% sure that when you're steeking it that it will stay in place, so I'm going to make sure, or as sure as possible, that it won't come undone, and use the sewing machine for that, which is fine. So that's going to be a sweater. I just need to set in the sleeves and put on some buttons, because it's still a baby, so I want this much space to get his head through, and then there are like gaps, buttonholes here, so that I can put it over his head and close it later. That just seems nice for a baby. They don't like having things pulled over their head. Anyway, so that's another project that is kind of done, kind of not done, because I did all the knitting bits, but I'm definitely not finished yet, because it's not a sweater. It's not wearable yet. So then we can go into the next type of project, because I have not only been knitting, I have been doing more crafts. I have also been crocheting, and I've made very little progress on my shawl, so I'm not going to show that one here, but I did pick up some leftovers from my stash and made some shoes for my son. So I just followed the pattern for this. I have a book by, let me just get it because I can't remember. A friend of my local knitting group gave me this book, or actually she lent it to me, and it's Crocheting Baby Booties by Vita Apala, and I'm pretty sure this book has translations in several languages, and I don't think it's originally Dutch. So so Vita Apala is the designer, and she made this book, and I made some booties out of this book. I'm not sure if I can show you an overview page. So here are the booties that I just followed the pattern for, and I think they came out okay. I did make a slight alteration by making the bottom parts of the shoes, the soles, I made them dark grey instead of red like the pattern suggested, and that's basically all of the changes that I made to that. And I also made a version of these baby booties, and they are and they are here. They are a very dark navy blue, and I used a cute little button on there that I purchased a while ago. So yeah, I really like the look of these booties. I did run out of yarn when I was crocheting these, so these are actually supposed to have like a longer piece on the leg and space for 2 buttonholes. So I finished one bootie and started crocheting the second one, and then I ran out of yarn, and this was leftovers from the yarn that I used to make the Star Wars heads for my sister and her boyfriend out of 2.5 years ago. And the local yarn shop that I got this yarn from, this is Drops Big Merino, they don't carry drops anymore, so I wasn't going back to buy more yarn, because the entire point of this was kind of using up stash that I wasn't really planning on using for anything else anyway. So baby booties, 2 sets, and they are quite cute. And I think I might make some more in the future, because they are nice and quick projects, and they're actually quite useful, because, you know, I have not been knitting baby socks, and he does need something warm now. I used to work a lot with the kind of pants that have a foot part attached to them. So it's one piece, so he wouldn't lose socks all the time. Very nice. But the one thing that's less handy about this is when they start trying to crawl, you always have a fabric layer there, which is not so nice. So with pants that are just like regular pants and have the feet open, you can just have him on bare feet to like get a little bit more grip on the floor and try to crawl that way. He's still not crawling, but he's very close to being able to, and sometimes very frustrated because he can't crawl just yet. He can rotate around and he can roll, so he can get around, but it's not very efficient at the moment. So I think it's cause for some frustration at the moment. Anyway, I do want to from now on use pants that I have to use with socks or like booties like this. So that's the end of an era, and soon he will be walking. Time flies by, really. It's so fast. Anyway, so then there's another craft that I've been working on, and it's a little bit of spinning. And I have been spinning, this is about 1/3 of a braid, also from wool that I got from Schapendraak. It's 100% blue-faced Leicester. That is non-superwash, and it was in very bright colors, and I can't remember which colors. I believe it's something like a spring or summer bird or something like that. I'm not sure, and I might be very wrong about this, but I really like the colors. And I am spinning this. I split the braid in 3 parts, and I'm hoping that I can make a 3-ply and then have enough to make a diaper cover out of this. It's 100% BFL, like the yarn that I've used to make a diaper cover out of. So we will see. I'm currently spinning on the 2nd bobbin. I'm not making it any fuller than this, because I want to make a 3-ply out of it, and it's easier if I have just put it on 3 separate bobbins to begin with. So there you go. I have one bobbin that is not quite full but complete for me. And that's all that I have been doing for spinning. Spinning is one of those things that takes a little bit more time to set up for me. I'm not sure why exactly, because it's really not that hard to just, put a chair in front of my wheel and start spinning. But for some reason it feels like I need to make the space, and that just takes a little bit more time. Which is also why I have not been sewing as much. I did make some sewing projects though. And the first of these is... I don't think I've shared this one yet, but apologies if I'm wrong about this. This is another romper that I made out of the fabric, which was actually the first purchase I made for baby when I was pregnant. So I knew I was pregnant, and this fabric, it was just adorable, and I needed to have something to make for baby, and this is it. So I do still have quite a bit of fabric, so I'm planning to make a few more items out of this jersey. But a romper is a nice addition to his wardrobe, and it fits him very nicely, so he has been using it a lot. But thankfully it was clean in the laundry and on the pile of clothes that are always close at hand, because you never know when babies get dirty, but they get dirty a lot. Anyway, so I'm really happy with how this turned out. And I love the tiny polar bears on it. They're so cute. Can't remember. I think it's maybe Cutie Fabrics, but I'm not 100% sure. When I'm buying yarn, I'm always very focused on the labels, and I'm really into looking what I'm buying. And when I'm working with sewing, then I know that I'm going for a cotton jersey, but otherwise I have no clue about the contents. And also I feel like the fabric industry is not as nice as in providing you the information about what contents are in a fabric that you're using. Like, there's so many different options. I know this is cotton jersey, but who knows? It might be 100% cotton, but it might also have some stretchy material in it as well, and they just don't tell you. And the labeling is just much worse in fabric stores, or especially when you go to like festival type things to buy fabrics, which still was a thing when I was pregnant. So I did use a different technique. I'm not sure if I've shown you the previous rompers that I've made, or onesies, or whatever you want to call these things. The main difference is that I've not been using the twin needle, and I like this so much better. This just feels more secure than the twin needle stitching. So I probably did something wrong when I made the other ones in using the twin needle. I must have had some setting wrong, like maybe had too much tension somewhere on the yarn or something like that. But I really like how this one turned out. And I've made another one that's already one size bigger, because the polar bear onesie is in size 68, which means 68 centimeters, and it's probably another size, but it's about 48 months age. And this one is an attempted sewing size of 74. I'm not really sure about the sizes actually, because I have drafted these patterns myself, because I had a very nice pattern that came in sizes 50 to 62, which is like for the first 4 months age of a baby, maybe up to 6 months, depending on, obviously, on how fast your baby grows. Mine is a bit on the heavy side, so he grows out of things a bit fast. So I have made this one. This is still a bit long for him, but it still works. It fits nicely widthwise, so a little bit of extra length isn't hurting him. So I made another one, and I'm really happy with it. And I also already ran out of all these type of button things. I can't think of the words to describe this closure, but you know, you can see them. They have this kind of pin, and on the other side, pushers. I don't know what these would be called. Anyway, so I ran out of those, so I will have to order a few more of those to make more of these baby garments, because these type of closures are very nice for baby garments. I prefer them over the regular buttonhole button situation and things, and also they are much less fiddly to put on now that I have a proper plier for these things. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I do still always ask my husband to help me when I'm putting on these buttons, because I can put them on, but I'm not really sure that I push strongly enough to make sure that they stay on when I close the buttons. Then sometimes in the beginning, when I just did it myself, sometimes like the closure would come out of the fabric and just stay together, because that connection was stronger than the one with the fabric. So I make sure that my husband uses his strength and applies the pliers for a bit, and then they stay fastened, which is nice. So, and then there is one more sewing project, which is a work in progress, because I have not finished all that I have been working on. This doesn't look like much yet, but this is fabric that I think I purchased this right when I started the podcast, but this is going to be the back panel of a skirt that I'm sewing, and that I am actually working on right now. So I have the waistband here now, and I made sure to put some effort into pattern matching, so that you know, it looks kind of symmetrical on the outside. I even made some faux buttonholes on the front sides. I'm making this pretty much like a skirt that I have, but because I put on some weight since I purchased that one. I think I was like 16 when I got a skirt, so I'm not too upset about having gained some weight since then. If I were at that weight, then I would probably be like on the side of being underweight at the moment. But you know, I no longer really fit that skirt, so I decided to make another one pretty much like it, but in my size. So yeah, here we are. And this is the button band. I have pinned together this front skirt. There are a lot of pins in here currently. I obviously am still working on this project, and it's going to have some pleats, and the waistband is going to fall over it a little bit like that. Obviously it needs some finishing touches. There is some interfacing, pretty stiff interfacing on the inside of this, and obviously this also needs a back part, and I do have those pieces cut out. I just don't have them here. I'm also going to try and see if I can hack in little pockets here, because the original skirt that I had some fake pockets here, so they just had like a fake flap going down there, like there would be pockets there, but you know, pockets are actually quite useful in skirts, so I'm not going to settle for fake pockets. I'm going to try and put in some real pockets, and yeah, we will see how far I can get with that. So I'm basically just hacking this pattern, and I did use some pattern pieces from the Delphine skirt, which is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, but I've modified them to such an extent that I doubt that it really is using that pattern anymore. It's just I cut out a button band in my size for a skirt that I've made in the past, and basically modified all the shapes, but I did use some of the size, but really, like in most directions, I've changed the pattern piece significantly. The Delphine skirt, for instance, doesn't have this kind of front bit, so I'm really not sure about how I'm going to deal with sewing this onto here, because, you know, usually I would just say put the right faces together and sew, but it's on an angle, and that just it just hurts my brain a bit to to think about how I'm going to get this bit, how I'm going to get this kind of cornered bit on the skirt properly. But we will see. There must be some way, and I will think of it at some point, probably, hopefully, and it's going to be a lovely skirt. So then there is one project that I have made some progress on, and it's been a while since I've touched it actually, but it lives in this bag, and I did make some significant progress on it as well. We were on holiday. We went to the house of my parents-in-law for a while, and I'm pretty sure that I was almost finished with the shirt of this elephant, and now, well, you can definitely start seeing that this is going to be an elephant, but it's also very clear that it's not quite done yet. This is a birth tile that I'm embroidering or cross-stitching for my son, and well, I kind of hope that I will have it done before he turns 1 year old. Would be nice. It's a nice goal, but I doubt I'm going to make it, because, you know, cross stitch for me is something that at some points I really like to do it, and at some points I'm just like, no, it's not for me, it's not for me. It really comes and goes in waves like that. So at some points I really enjoy it, and I will pick it up and pick away on it, and sometimes I'm just like, no, it's not happening. So yeah, there we go. So then there's one last thing that I need to handle for this episode, and that is the prize draw for the giveaway that I announced last episode, which is already 2 months ago. I can't believe how fast time has gone. But I had some lovely comments, and I made a list of all the people who entered. So I have 15 numbers here. I think I had 14 people who entered this giveaway, but one person had an extra entry, so she has both number 8 and 9, and yeah, here's the list. I'm really hoping that I have everyone, because for some reason YouTube did not show me all the comments that were there earlier this morning, and I was kind of confused about this, because I was pretty sure there was going to be another one, because the person who made this comment that I couldn't see was someone who had actually messaged me on Ravelry and told me that she was going to enter the giveaway. So but for some reason it didn't show up until I ordered the comments in a different way, and I don't know why YouTube is hiding some comments from me. I mean, why can't I see them? I mean, it seems like I should be able to see all the comments on my videos, but apparently YouTube doesn't think so, or thinks that's only true if you know, select a certain type of ordering your comments. I don't know. It blows my mind. But there were 14 valid entries, and therefore 15 valid numbers. So I have my tablet here, and I have random.org here, and I will make sure that we have. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, because this is quite small. We have a random number generator, and I'm going to push the button. And the result is number 4. So I'm going to look at my list. And the list here tells me that the winner is number 4, which is Diane Kamagu. And I believe she has won a prize before on this podcast, but congratulations, you are the lucky winner. Again, I've had the pleasure of meeting Diane in Oslo a few years ago when we both went to Oslo Strikke Festival. So it's really nice to be sending out a parcel to someone. I know, obviously, you know, any winner would be nice. I mean, it's just very nice to be able to share the love of yarn, basically. So I'm going to try and ship this out to you as soon as you let me know what your shipping address is. I hope that you can get in touch with me before the end of September, because the last day of September my husband and I are actually going to get the keys to our new house, which is very exciting for us. We are going to move, and we have planned to go and move halfway through October, so we are really hoping that we are not going to be in a second wave at the moment, so that we can actually have some people over to help us move all of our stuff. Would be nice. We currently live in a rental situation, so we luckily don't have to deal with any efforts to try and sell this place. Of course, we need to tidy up things and have this in a presentable state, so that new owner can get into this house. But we have not ended our rent yet, because we want to be sure that we have the keys and have actually moved. And if we all have to do that with just the two of us while also watching a young baby, then it might take a little bit longer than we are planning now. But fingers crossed, it's not going to be a full-on second wave. At this moment, the numbers of cases in the Netherlands are going up, the virus cases, but they seem to be mostly affecting the young people now. So young people are partying a little bit too much and getting sick, but they don't get as sick, so they don't pile up in hospitals and things like that. Luckily, because it seems like a terrible disease, and I hope that everyone who is watching this podcast is also safe, because you just never know if you are going to be that unlucky person who happens to have the bad genes that can't deal with this disease or something like that. So and we hope that we can have some people help us move. Anyway, so chances are that the next podcast episode is not going to be until the end of October or probably November, but we'll see about that. For now, thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely day, stay safe, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye!